Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're doing an exciting video, even though almost everyone has already done this, but I haven't. So I have here the new Dior Forever Natural Nude foundation, and I was immediately intrigued by this because of the nice cream colored top. I'm really into these cream colors right now, I don't know what else to say. And then I also got this bronzer, which has the nice fabric on top with the stitchings. I have the foundation in the shade 1N and I have the bronzer in the shade 04 Tan Bronze. There are 10 shades of this bronzer, but my local store only had shade 1 and shade 4, and shade 1 seemed just a little bit too light for me, or a little bit too yellow. I don't know, I guess I thought it would be the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer all over again, and I hardly ever use that one. I like my bronze to be a little bit more visible, so I did a little bit of a gamble and I guessed for shade 4. And I think this works out very well. I'm wearing both these products right now. I think the shade 1N of the foundation is a little bit too deep for me, especially when you compare it to my neck. It is a little bit too deep. There is a shade lighter than this, but it just wasn't available. The bronzer, however, is perfect. It is a very nice, light, buildable formula, and the color is also not too vibrant. So even though this is shade 4 and this is the sort of in the center of the available shades, I think this works for me very well. I think these are very versatile. And also, can we take a look at this packaging again? Isn't it beautiful? I was really intrigued by these. So, as you can see, the foundation is very glowy. I am wearing some highlighter over here, but when I move my head in the light, you can see there's a lot of glow on this foundation. And it didn't set down completely. So the claims of this foundation are that there's 24-hour wear, but comfortable and hydrating. And natural, of course, since that is the name of the foundation. I wore this yesterday for about 8 hours, but I did powder it and it wore very well. I did wear a mask for a little bit and it didn't really, well, it did transfer a little bit, but not extremely. So I don't think 24 hours is going to be the best mark for this foundation. I really think 8 to 10, especially when I've seen other reviews, 8 to 10 hours seems to be doable, but no more than that. That's when even more dry skinned people get their oils coming through and it's starting to look too glowy for them. So today I didn't use any powder and we're going to see if it lasts just the same, if it starts to get glowy on me. I have pretty much normal skin right now, but I don't get very oily. So I'm not very dry, but I never get very oily, except for on my nose a little bit. So we're going to see how this holds up. But first let's go into the application part of this video. So we're moving into the application portion of this video. I'm going to put on my cat ears. I already tried this foundation yesterday without a primer, and I think I'm going to do the same thing today, because it didn't really seem to be necessary to put on a primer. I'm going to pump out 2 little dots, and I'll first apply them to this side of my face. So immediately what I found yesterday and what I also find today is that this foundation is not nearly as liquidy as you would expect. I guess I was expecting a light coverage, very sheer, almost skin tint like foundation. And it really isn't. As you can see, the coverage is pretty high. Not like full or anything, but like a solid medium. You can see some of my post-blemish marks coming through, but it's not nearly as much or as red as on this side. The color oxidizes a little bit, so it seems almost perfect now, but it will actually get a little bit darker as it dries down. So that's unfortunate. I wish I had a shade lighter, but I don't. So what you immediately see is that it has a lot of shine and it doesn't dry down. It's not extremely tacky or anything, but it didn't completely dry down. And there is a lot of sheen in this foundation. I'm going to bump out just a little bit more to do the other side of my face. I did try the Forever Undercover foundation before, and I think it applies a little bit similarly. So the texture of the product feels a little bit like it's similar. It's just that this one leaves a lot more glow. And I think it dries down a little bit less. But I actually also think the coverage isn't too different. So now you can really see that it's actually a little bit too dark. But it looks nice. I'm going to add some concealer underneath my eyes, but I will not highlight my face as I usually do, just so we can get the full experience with the foundation. So I'll actually continue the rest of my makeup, and I'll speed you through the process in case you are interested. I'll leave all the products in my description box below. As you saw, I only used a little bit of powder, only on the places where I put my concealer. I think it's already drying down a little bit more, but it is keeping a lot of its natural sheen. So far so good. Now we can really put the bronzer to the test. I already applied this yesterday as well, and I thought that the shade was beautiful. It wasn't too dark. I'm very happy I chose this shade. And yesterday I had a fully powdered face and it applied beautifully, but now we're going to see if it also applies beautifully with an unset face. So it does have a little mirror. I'm using my normal bronzer brush, same as usual. I'm picking up quite a bit of product, and I'm first going to sort of stamp that in the area. As you can see, the color is very nice for me. This is a bronzer that you can really build. So it's not going to give you the same color as it is here immediately. You have to build up the layers a little bit. So I don't think you have to choose a very light shade. And as you can see, it applies beautifully on top of the foundation. Really no issues. So this is what it looks like. It's a nice summery color for me. I mean, I picked these products out with the idea that I would use them in the summer. And I think because I'm going on holiday this year probably, I will get a little bit of a tan. So then I think this is fine. There are a couple of shades lighter than this one, but my local store only had the lightest shade, and that one seemed almost like the color of this foundation, so it wouldn't really bronze me very much. And I am very pale, but I don't know, I guess they made a really pale one. So I figured I'd play it safe and pick out this shade, and I think it looks nice. It's definitely a matte bronzer, but you can still see a little bit of the radiance of the foundation peeking through. And I'm really surprised at how well this combination works. Alright, so I'll speed you through the rest of the process again, and I'll see you in a little bit. My finished face of makeup. As you saw, I didn't put any powder at the outskirts of my face, and I also kept my highlighter in this area. So I put nothing here, just a little bit on the nose, but I think most of the glow that you see, like this part over here, this is only foundation. No primer, no powder, no nothing. So as you can see, it's a pretty shiny foundation. Let me get real close for a second. So I do have one light at this side, but on this side of the room there's only natural lighting. And this is the glow that it gives. So be aware, I've seen this in other people's reviews that have a little bit more combo skin. This really gets very oily on them after about 10 hours. So I wouldn't trust the 24-hour mark thing. I wore this yesterday for about 8 hours, and I did powder it, and it never got as glowy as this again. So my natural oils, which I pretty much don't have, or I have very normal to dry skin, so I think a little bit more normal at the moment. So on me, the powder that I used kept the glow and the oil in bay. But just keep in mind that on a little bit more oily skin, this might be a little bit too much. Alright, I'll zoom you out and... Oh wait, I forgot a lipstick. I think I'm going to use my Chanel Rouge Allure Lacque. So that's better. So now we're going to do a wear test. It is now 2 o'clock, so I'm going to try to do an 8-hour wear test at least. But I did also take a picture of the 4-hour mark yesterday, and I'll show you that when I'm 4 hours into this look as well. So I'll see you in my next check-in. I'm back with my first check-in. It is now 4:30, so it's been about 2.5 hours since I applied the foundation. I also forgot to mention a couple of things during my first part of the review. And this foundation comes in 17 shades, ranging from 0N to 8N. And I think the darkest shade is, well, I can show you. This is the darkest shade, so that's definitely not dark enough for everyone. But there are equally light and dark shades in the shade range that is available. So yes, that could be better. This foundation, like I said, is supposed to last for 24 hours, but still be 24 hours and hydrating. So, and it's made out of 96% natural ingredients, in case you are interested by those kind of things. It retails for €49.50 on the euros on the Dior website. So that's some information I forgot to mention. Now, let's get into this glowy mess. I'm not even sure if it's appropriate to call it a mess, but I mean, it's only been a couple of hours, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm not actually an oily type person. I mean, it looks kind of cool, but this is only after 2.5 hours. I mean, I was completely expecting it to dry down more because of my more normal to dry skin, but it's actually become a little bit more glowy. Like here on my chin, you can actually see it's almost a Tin Man shine. And I'm still in the same lighting situation, by the way. So this side of the face is completely lit with natural lighting. But that being said, I think it looks pretty flawless. I just went to the supermarket, so I wore a mask. And it hasn't even worn off, well, a little bit, but not very much on my nose and my chin. So that's actually quite nice. I didn't expect that, but it does feel still a little bit tacky. And like I said, I look kind of greasy. Here on my forehead, it's actually come through my bronzer as well. So even the exterior of my face, where I did put the bronzer, is looking hella glowy. So I don't know, do with that what you will. Yesterday, when I put on quite a bit of powder, I did not have this intense glowy effect. So maybe if you put on a little bit of powder, it's actually okay. But we're gonna see in a couple of hours if it's become even more glowy. And I'm back. It's now 8:15, so it's not as late as I was hoping, but I really want to take this makeup off. So I think it's going to have to be enough. Usually with me, about 6 hours is when it starts to wear off, or is when I'm starting to see differences. And then again at like 10 hours later, and I'm just not going to wait that long. But I think I've got enough to show you. Do you see how oily it is here around my nose? And actually also very oily on my forehead. There's actually a lot of oil coming off of my forehead, and I don't usually get oily. So I was watching Steffi Glam's review yesterday, and she was saying the same thing, that with her it was like after 10 hours that she was getting incredibly oily, even though she usually isn't. And I was skeptical because yesterday it went very well. But today, not using powder, I do see it. It does get very oily. So here it's fine. Just around here. It really doesn't matter how I turn my head. It's just an oily mess. And again, I don't really hate it. I never have shiny skin, so I guess it's kind of nice. But you'd have to be very dry for this foundation to work for you, I think. Or you really have to powder it down. Otherwise, it faded very nicely, so it didn't even fade that much. And where it faded nicely. It feels comfortable. I mean, it's a great foundation, but know what you're getting into. It's getting oily pretty fast during the day if you don't set it down. So that would be my final thought. I actually like this foundation. I would love to use it a lot more. I just think that I would powder this down just a little bit, and then I think it would be pretty. So I hope you found this review helpful. I hope it helped you decide whether you want this foundation or not, and otherwise I hope it was fun to watch. And I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.